I was dating this guy in like high school, and he was like, I like girls with dark hair, so of course I fucking dyed my hair dark.
Yeah.
Why would I? Mine's kind of like yours usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I dyed it dark. And then I was like,
Why am I doing this?
you look back. I was just talking to my friend yesterday about it.
Thank you.
And it's like, thank you. It's like you look back at it, at the stupid shit that you did like that, and you're like, why? I
Literally,
looked
why?
awful.
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
No.
Like, yeah.
No, yeah.
So funny.
I
And
do
they
not
do
miss
that.
those times in my life. And that's what I like about this dude. Like, I show up as 100% me. Like, I don't overthink it. And he's like, I love your pants. I like this. And I'm like, okay.
You're like,
He
oh
likes
my
me
god,
for me.
really?
Yeah.
I can be myself?
Yeah. And then on the hike today, taking candid photos of me. And then texting me them after our date. And he's like, you are gorgeous in capitals. And I was like, my heart.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Everyone just wants a guy to take pictures of them on a fucking walk.
Literally.
Thanks. Yeah.
Without us asking.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, don't ask me, because then I'm
No.
not ready. And
No.
then I overthink it. And then my face
Exactly.
looks awful.
Yep. Yep. There was one where I caught him, so I'm just like, and it's actually the cutest thing ever. And I'm like, I like that.
You're like, cute.
Yeah. I'm like, ooh.
Well, Victoria, welcome to the Lifted Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited for our conversation. I feel like there's a lot that we didn't go over just in our interview, so I'm excited to just go over it. So, do you want to share? You'd mentioned that you lost a family member.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share that experience and just how it affected you emotionally and give us all the details?
Yeah, for sure. So I lost my dad when I was 10. And little backstory, I'm the baby of the family. Parents separated when I was 3, but I was daddy's little girl. So losing him was like losing my whole world, you know, and especially the way I lost him. He took his own life due to the mental illness he had been suffering for years and years. So just trying to understand that when you're 10 years old, plus then trying to act like a normal kid amongst everyone else because they don't understand at all what you're going through. And then also just trying to wrap your head around like he is gone forever and like the magnitude of that and just like where do I go from here, you know? Yeah, it broke me for a really, really long time, and I did not see myself being here for as long as I have been or like feeling as alive and loved as I am now.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's and when you're 10, like how, because when you're 10 you don't really understand that, like what you're talking about, like someone's gone and you're like, are they coming back kind of thing, like you don't realize that there's that end point, you know?
Yeah, and literally forever. And that's what I just kept thinking, like, forever. He's gone. And I try and have these conversations with friends, like, what happens when people die? Like, where do we go? Because the world goes on forever and ever. And they'd be like, what are you talking about? So then you feel crazy. And then I just had, like, all these feelings inside. And, like, people were bullying me for it. I went back to school after a week after losing my dad. And I got one hug that day, and the rest were just people bullying me, making fun of me, saying like, hey, when I'm older, I'm going to be like Vic's dad and go kill myself. Who you going to cry to now? Your dad? Oh, wait, you don't have one. And like, I don't even know how to explain how that made me feel, because I would literally laugh with them because I'm feeling awkward. I'm feeling like everyone's looking at me, so I'm trying to fit in. So I'm laughing with them. Then I'm going home feeling like a terrible daughter because I just laughed about jokes about my dad not being here. Feeling like he's up there being able to watch and hear everything. So like just feeling like he was like, oh yeah, like she doesn't care about me. She doesn't love me. And it just was like so many emotions and feelings for a 10-year-old, you know, that I just like didn't know how to get through it. Like I didn't even know where to start. Yeah.
It would just be so confusing. And oh my god, like you're saying, like you're going to school laughing about it, but you, like, how do you even process that when you're 10? Like,
And it was so weird because I just kept looking at photos of him being like, he's gone, like he's really gone forever, like I'm not gonna see dad. And it was just like because we knew he was sick. We knew that Dad had been in and out of the hospital. We visited him once, and that was, I think, my first time seeing my dad like break down, is when we saw him in the hospital bed. And I just remember thinking like, oh shit, Dad's not okay. And when we left that hospital that day, my brother and I both bawled our eyes out and like asked Mom not to leave Dad alone, because I feel like we just knew he was not okay. And again, you're 10, my brother was 11. Like, we didn't know how badly he was feeling, how depressed he really was. So I just kept thinking like, Dad will always be there. Like, he'll get better. And that's where a lot of the guilt came from too, because he passed away on his birthday and we were supposed to see him the next day. So I didn't even call him, because I was like, I'm going to see Dad tomorrow. Like, you know, I don't need to call him. I'll wish him a happy birthday tomorrow. Same thing. And then I was at basketball. My mom picked me up. We drove home, sat us down, and told us he was gone forever. And my first thought was like, I should have called him. What if I had called him? Like, would I have saved him? Like, just even like calling him more to say I love you, like, would that have helped? And then I was like 10, feeling like I was responsible for my dad's death, and like that guilt to carry is, I wouldn't, like, it's intense. Yeah. So just trying to like, I don't know, I carried that guilt for a very, very long time. Now I can say that I don't feel guilty. I know how bad it gets when you're depressed and how nothing seems to help. And I know that a 10-year-old could not have saved a grown man, you know. The doctors couldn't even save him. Not like they were trying hard enough, in my opinion, just giving pills and whatnot. But I was not responsible for his death, and I had to learn that. And that took a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so hard.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you think, okay, I mean, when you're a kid and when you're like 10, when you're like, I don't know, 4 to 10, whatever, like, you're looking up to your parents. They're adults. Mm-hmm. Like, they
have everything
strong.
Together.
They have everything together. They don't need
anything. They know everything.
Oh my God. But then you're like, now, us in our 20s, whatever, being like, no adult has it together.
No.
Genuinely,
no one
nobody.
has it together. No.
I don't think I've met one adult that they're like maybe they portray that and they say that and whatever, but then you're like,
especially when you're a little kid, like, I feel like we look up to the men and we're like, they're protectors, they're so brave, they're so tough, they're so strong, they don't need anything. And I remember my dad even asking me once, like, why do you always call Mom when you're with me, but you never call me when you're with Mom? And I'm like, well, Dad, like, you're a man. You can protect yourself. Like, Mom's this woman. Like, she can. And, like, little did I know, monsters had already broken into his home. And unfortunately, they were his own monsters that he couldn't fight. And that was him just trying to be like, I need you to call me a bit more. But he didn't say that. So, like, I didn't know, you know? So it's just, like, certain stuff like that, looking back, where it's like, fuck, I could have done more. I could have said more, and then maybe. And it's like, no, you can't go down that route, because it's just a downward spiral that you're not going to come back out of.
Yeah, it's a dark path if you just start, what if, maybe literally. I should have done that.
Yeah, and I just had to learn to accept that he's gone, which sucks. Which was really tough, you know?
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
So, in the long run, like, how did that affect your mental health?
I would say I was depressed from 10 to like 21, 22. I started to feel a sense of hope and like maybe brighter times are coming my way. Because like when you're 10, you lose your dad. And I was just like, kept feeling that guilt and hanging on to it, because also moving forward meant I was leaving him behind, in my opinion. Like, moving on meant he was right, that his life didn't matter, that I could live life without a dad and I'd be better off without it. So I was just like, no, like, I had to hang on to this pain, this loss. I had to grieve him constantly for him to know that he was important, and for like me to keep him alive in a way, you know? And like just hanging on to that for so long, and then just being a teenager, going through your own stuff, was tough. And then, I just didn't see any hope for myself. I felt like life was really unfair, And I held on to that too. I was like, life is so unfair. I deserve better. I deserve a family. I deserve a dad. And like clung on to that. And I was like, but this is your life. This is what you got dealt. And life didn't start to brighten up for me until I met really lovely friends first year university who loved me in all of my ugliness, or what I thought was my ugliness, and truly made me feel special and like seen and heard. And that's when like I didn't magically start to be like, oh, my depression's gone, but I was like, maybe there's a little bit of hope. And like, even if I'm still gonna live with this pain, like I wanna live another day to spend more time with them, you know? So it gave me something to look forward to, and kind of that love that I was missing, you know? So yeah, it took me a really, really long time. Yeah, I always said I was not gonna make it past 21. And now here I am at 27, loving life. So, yeah.
Little sunflower.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you're like hanging on to it, like, did you like, how did you? I mean, meeting your friends and stuff, you felt like you let go. Did you go through like any sort of like counseling or anything, or like anything?
I tried. So I met with one therapist, which like I should have met with more. But especially even back then, times are getting better now. We're actually like talking, discussing things more. But even when my dad was depressed, they just kept handing him pills. And he would literally be like, you can't leave me alone. I will hurt myself. They're like, no, you're fine. You just need pills. You just need to toughen up. You need to be more of a man. So that was people's kind of like treatment with me. Even my family, like, love them to death, but they feel and deal with things differently. So they're like, no, you have to move on. Like, you need to not get over this, but kind of get over this and move on, move forward. And I was like, how am I supposed to move on from losing my dad? Like, I don't understand that. Like, how am I supposed to just move forward and be like, da, 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 da? So I met with a therapist who just tried to, like, label me with things right away. Like, oh, after one session, she's like, oh, she has this, this, and this. And then it just kind of was like, you're not even, like, listening to me. Like, even she's, like, staring at me and then, like, or, like, and I was like, I just didn't feel seen or heard or like validated, you know, because like I didn't need people to tell me what was wrong with me. I knew kind of what was wrong, but I needed tools to help me, and I feel like that wasn't given. So I feel like I've done a lot of inner work and just talking to myself, and that's how I've, you know, moved forward with this. But yeah, I never found the therapist or any outside help that really helped.
I feel like that's my like biggest, I don't know, like when I think of like going to therapy or something, if someone's got like their notebook and whatever, I would be like, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah.
Like, what am I genuinely doing?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So I do want to give it another chance. I have a friend who has a lovely therapist, she says, who I'd love to connect with and see. Just to have someone to talk to that isn't just like your friends and stuff. Like, I think it's just nice to have someone who is like paid to listen to you, you know?
like I get to talk.
Yeah.
Are you that friend that like listens to everyone?
Yeah. And like I'm the friend, like I'm the advice friend, which I love. Like I love that my friends, but like I also need that too, you know? And I think I just need people who will like hear me and like sit with me in it, which a therapist has to do that with you. So
you're like, I'm paying you like $200 an hour. Like,
you're stuck here with me. You're not leaving. Yeah.
But you also have to find someone that you relate to. Like,
yeah.
I was talking to one of my friends and she's got this therapist that's like really hard love. And I was like, I think I need that because I will kind of, even if I'm talking about something, I'll be like, if I can tell that the other person isn't interested or they're not into it or whatever, I'll be like, oh, but it's not really a big problem. But I'm like, it's a fucking huge problem actually.
Yeah.
I need a therapist that's going to be like, bitch,
Man.
what is that?
Yeah.
Like, let's go into that. And I'm like,
yep.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's about finding like what works for you and who works well with you. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, tell us about, because, I mean, I've been depressed before, twice, probably about a couple months, nothing like yours, but tell us about like the lowest times and like how you almost got through it.
I think my lowest times would be end of high school, first year university, because like that's when you're finally like set free to figure out life on your own. And I still was carrying this like big like guilt loss and everything. And I just was like, I don't know where I want to go from here. Because, like, honestly, I didn't want to go anywhere. Like, I wanted to die and be with my dad. Like, that's what I wanted. So it was just, like, finding things to live for and, like, realizing that I needed to live for me and not what I thought other people wanted of me, you know? And that's when things started. Oh, sorry. I'm going off. I'm, like, on a different tangent. But yeah, being in that. So, end of high school, first year uni, trying to figure myself out. I think that was the hardest, especially because then alcohol, drugs are around. Lovely coping mechanisms that are not good for you. So I dove pretty deep into that. Like alcohol, nights out drinking with my friends, thinking that at least if forgetting about it, like, for a little bit would help, you know, that it was still my life in the morning, but having fun and, like, having some laughs at night would just, you know, get me through. And that was tough. And yeah, there was just, it was a long period of lows, so it's hard. I don't know.
Well, and then you're like hungover, and that doesn't help because then you've got the sads, and you're just like, great.
Hungover,
perfect.
bank account is way lower. Yeah, it's just like I was just doing worse things to myself. Like, I wasn't helping myself at all.
But like, what else do we do? I remember like when I was in university, it was like the last couple years of high school and university, like I wasn't sober ever, I don't think. Like, I mean, realistically.
It's such the norm that you're like, well,
Yeah.
this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, maybe I'm the one that's depressed, but like everyone else is doing this too. So like maybe this will help. And no, it does not help.
Just makes it worse.
Spoiler. It does not. Yeah. It just makes it spiral more. Because then I was like, because then you feel confident when you're drunk or stuff. Like, you feel like your alter ego comes out. And I like that alter ego. But then when you're sober, I'm like, I'm actually still the piece of shit. Like, I'm still this person. Yeah. So
You're like, nothing changed.
Nothing
like,
changed.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. And then it's just like another year passes and I'm still feeling this way. I'm still doing these things. Nothing's changing. Like, and I was just like, is this going to be my life? Like, just a like little loop that I keep doing. So it was like learning to break free from that and actually choose things that were going to lead me to a better life and a better feeling. Yeah.
Which was like those friends in university that you're like, oh my God, I can actually get out of this.
Yeah, because I did. So in high school, I was self-harming and all of that. So I did end up in the hospital. And I thought that would be my turning point, you know, seeing a lot of other people that were just like me going through it. Because again, like people in school and even my family are calling me crazy for feeling this way. So like I'm feeling like I'm the only one in the world feeling this way. So I must be crazy. And then going to the hospital, talking to the doctors, seeing other patients kind of like me, you know, different, but going through similar feelings and being like, hey, I'm not the only one feeling this way. And like, it helped because it was like, oh, like other people, like I'm not the only one. But then it was still like, you're still stuck with that sadness. It's not like it goes away. Yeah.
So when you were in the, did you go to the hospital for like a couple of weeks or something? Like, is
just
that what
a
happened?
day.
Okay.
Because my mom found me found my self-harm wounds, so brought me there. Because also she didn't know what to do with me. She just went through this with my dad a couple years ago, and now her own daughter wants to take her life. So she's like, what do I do? Yeah. So I went to the hospital just for a day, talked to me, checked me over, and then my mom just like kept checking up on me every day when we got home, which was something. But
yeah, like how did that make you?
Not good, because when you're being watched 24/7, you just feel weird, and like every move is being critiqued, so then you're in your head even more. Then I'm feeling even more like I'm crazy because you're watching me, making me like strip and make sure I'm not hurting myself, and like trying to get people to understand why I was doing that too. Like they didn't understand like what, you're in pain, so you're gonna cause more pain to yourself. So it's just like so many things.
Wait, can we actually go into that for a second?
Yeah.
Because I do feel like I have actually talked to people that are like, I just don't understand it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Can you explain it, or like is it not explainable? Because
I don't know if it's
yeah.
explainable, because like I look back, it's just like a way to release your pain. I don't know, like channel it in a way, some way, but like I don't know. And also
Like
because I felt like I deserved pain, so then maybe like putting myself through more pain. I don't know, And then I felt fat, so like injuring myself, taking like it felt like I don't know, like my whole body didn't deserve to be here or worthy, so like it deserved all this pain and abuse, which yeah, it's a lot
I
for
think
like a 10, 14, 16-year-old to feel. Yeah.
yeah, but I think that like what you went through when you were 10, because this happened when you were 10,
Mhm.
it almost forces you to grow up a little bit, because and a little bit faster, because
Yeah.
you're now taking this like I don't I don't even know how you would explain that. Like you looked at your dad as like he's an adult, he's got his stuff together, whatever. But then
Yeah.
when that happened, you're like, okay, now I don't even know what to think of like the entire like you're probably questioning so many things now
Literally.
at
And
that point.
I was so worried about everyone. Like even now to this day, I feel like I'm constantly like scanning the room, making sure everyone's okay. Like I will literally pick up if someone's like feeling like a comment that was said to them was like hurtful, and I'll literally go like cheer them up. Like I'm always on watch for people. And like being 10, especially like high school, I would stay up late at night helping other people that were feeling depressed. Meanwhile, I'm feeling depressed, but this guy's like, I'm going to kill myself. And I'm like, no, I'm staying up all night texting him, checking in. Like I just felt it was my responsibility to save everyone. Like I was like, I couldn't save my dad, but like now I know I'm gonna save the whole world.
Do you feel like that helped you?
No.
You're like
No.
absolutely not.
It like I'm trying to unlearn it still to this day. Like it is not my responsibility to take care of everyone. Like yes, it is important to be a good person and to treat others with kindness, but like if someone doesn't tell you they have a problem with you or about something, it is not your job to fix it or ask or like try and make it better.
I feel like I'm slowly learning that. Like
Yeah.
slowly. I do feel like we kind of, and I'm not sure if it's, I talked about this before, was that, okay, our parents were very much, I don't know if your parents were like this, but I feel like the whole generation was almost like this, where they just didn't talk about shit at all. And so
Yeah.
we're growing up in this world of like TikTok and Instagram and whatever, where people are really fucking real all of a
Yeah.
sudden. And people are telling their problems and being open and crying online and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we're now trying to open up about shit. And like, I don't even know where I was going with this, but I feel like it was the generation that
Yeah.
kind of helped us almost learn that. And now
Yeah.
we're trying to like unlearn what that problem was.
100%.
You know?
And because everyone kept telling me like you're so strong, and I used to wear that like a badge of honor. I was like, I am so strong, I am so resilient. And I'm like, I want to be soft, man. I'm so tired of being like, I'm okay, I'm fine. Like I want to be soft. And I think that was my dad's problem. Like he thought he had to be this tough man all the time, when like really he needed to be vulnerable and like cry and express how he felt, and like know that that doesn't make you less of a person. If anything, it makes you more of a person, and like people are gonna be able to connect with you more and make you feel like normal and okay when you're actually like true and vulnerable.
But why is that so fucking hard?
I don't know, because it's scary
Like,
to
genuinely, I feel that
bare your soul.
yeah, you're like, why am I so scared to first of all tell people how I feel?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll question things that I post or something, because I'm like, oh, what if it makes me look weak or look like
Yeah.
this or whatever. But like every time you do it, every time you open up to people, they're always right there, and you're like,
100%. Because other people need that too, Like when you open up, you're also giving people permission to do the same. And like that creates such a like comforting space. And I think that's what we just need more of, is like people coming together like this and just like talking, actually like speaking what they need to say, and then just being validated, people like actually hearing them.
yeah, exactly. Just listening.
Just
like,
listen.
Literally.
Just listen. Let me know it actually does suck and I'm not.
Yeah, don't fix my problem.
No.
You know how like you'll talk to a dude and you're like, oh my God, like, I don't know, complain about something, and they're like, just go fix it.
Just
And
do
you're
this.
like,
And you're like, yes, I'm going to get there, but like right now I'm sitting with the feeling of, oh, this sucks.
Let me cry about it first.
Yeah, literally. Like, let me be
cry.
annoyed and then I'll get to fixing it, sir.
Yeah. So through all this, what were like the biggest life lessons that you learned?
I think, especially like losing my dad so young, is like life is short. Truly, like, love your people loud and proud, you know? Because anything can change in a second. And though that's scary, it can also be kind of comforting to know that, like, the lowest of lows, you can still rise above that, you know? Like, you never know what's around the corner. But yeah, my biggest thing was just love your people while they're still here, you know? And like, not to be shy to send that first text or, you know, to like compliment that stranger, because like we all need love more than we're comfortable letting people know, you know, more than we're comfortable like admitting.
I
Yeah.
think that's so true. I feel like people don't think about that anymore. Like they're always like
Yeah.
almost playing mind games with it. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, I don't want to send the first text or I don't want to do this. Or
Yeah.
like, is it too forward to say that like I miss my friends or something, you know?
No, and it's like life is so short, and like if those people don't receive it well, those are not your people, you know? But I truly think like I don't think anyone's gonna take a nice compliment the wrong way, you know? Like the amount of strangers I walk up to and I'm like just like, I love your pants or something, and they light up, and it's just like, oh, like it feels good to also do good, you know? So it's just a win-win for everyone.
It's so much more rewarding.
Yeah.
Like I literally feel like if I'm having a shit day, I'm like, okay, well, when I go to the gym, I'll compliment someone.
Yeah.
And you're literally like, I feel better.
Yeah.
Like I actually feel better. It's so crazy.
Absolutely. I love it.
It's so
The
good.
power of love.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so this happened. So you got out of it when you were like 21
Yeah,
is when
I
you
would
kind of
say.
started coming out.
Yeah.
Have you ever like gone back into it or like
No.
felt like you've had like
No, honestly, the worst of the worst will happen. Like, life always happens. Life be lifing. And maybe for a split second, I'll have like, oh, I hate this. But like, I just have this like core belief in me now after going through all this and just all the work and like inner work I've done, where I just know I'm going to be okay. And I think it's because all of the love I have around me, truly. Like, I have amazing friends, I have a wonderful doggo, and all the love I have inside me, I'm just like, as long as I have this love, which I always will, I'll be okay. So, like, no, it's really crazy because I think back and I'm like, I was so deep in it that I never thought I'd be here. And now I'm here and I feel so far away from like how I was that it's hard to even like remember those times sometimes, the like thick of it. So like, no, I never worry about going back down
do
that
you
road.
low key feel like you've almost like not that you blacked out that time, but like it is hard to go back into that.
It is hard. And I think it's because of how like much I love myself and my life and the fact that I can actually say that. So it's hard to imagine a time when it wasn't like that, even though I'm like, there was a lot of time that it wasn't like this. So it's like reading journals or like writings that I had written back then. That's when I'm like able to like go back into it and be like, wow, I actually remember these feelings, you know, and how like honestly forever it felt like permanent. I really truly thought that was going to be my whole life until I wasn't here. So it's crazy to me to be on this side. And I get emotional when I think about it now because I'm like, whoa. But yeah, I'm just so thankful I'm here and that I fought on long enough to be here.
Yeah, and so you were journaling
Yeah,
through that.
I write poetry. So I would write the saddest poems of my life. Yeah, so I would write. Tumblr was big back then. So I found like a supportive Tumblr group where I just like post, you know, and people there would like relate to me. Because again, like in high school, no one really was going through that yet, I felt. After high school, people reached out and they're like, dude, sorry, like we should have been there more or this and that. And I was like, I don't hold any grudges. Like, it's hard to know what someone's going through, especially when you're depressed or something, until you're in it. And I would never wish that upon anyone. Yeah, so writing was like my outlet, or running, like movement has always been helpful for me. Yeah.
And when you're in high school, like I feel like people are so focused on themselves and like, you know, how they're being perceived and also fitting in that they're like if you're the outcast or you're going through something or you're always going to feel really isolated because people are going to try to avoid that,
Yeah.
which makes it even worse.
Yeah, and I literally like changed schools for a year because my mom was like, "Okay, let's try different schools, see if it works." But it was too far away, so we couldn't do sports. So then after a year, we went back to that high school. People asked me how my dad was because they forgot. Like, so really, it made me feel like I went through this huge thing and no one cares. And then I'm like, so is it really this huge thing? And it's like, yes, you lost your dad forever due to his mental illness. That is a huge thing. Like, them not remembering or not caring doesn't like downplay it, you know?
Well, and of course, like mental illness back then, not a big thing.
Not a big thing.
Like, I genuinely feel like through COVID, it's become
Yeah.
really big.
Yeah,
But I feel
agree.
like before that, it was like,
Yeah, you're
know.
too sensitive, which I always get. You're too emotional, which I always get. Because, like, my dad was bipolar, too. So he experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And I would get into, like, moods like that, too. Just, like, I think being a teenager, your hormones are, like, all over the place. And then people would make comments like, oh, you're just like your dad. So then I was like, am I just like him? And am I doomed? So, like, it's me trying to go through this like internal thing while all these external voices are like telling me how to be, how I should be acting. And I was lost. So
I was
lost.
going to say, like, you're going through it and then everyone else is saying their shit. And you're like, it's not like you're not in high school, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you don't care what people think and you don't care.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're still trying to also fit in. So you're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, because then people make those like, oh, she has daddy issues jokes. And like, that's the last thing you want to be like told. You know what I mean? So it's like, I had to grieve my dad in silence as the years went on, because then it's like, oh, she has daddy issues. Like, she's still not over this. And like, still to this day, 17 years later, I'm like, you are allowed to grieve. Like, you lost your dad forever. And with loss comes love, and like, you're always gonna grieve that love, you know what I mean? Like, that's never gonna go away. There's moments where it's not as like frontal view, like it's not in my mirror, but it's always there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what if there's any girls that are going through any sort of depression, any sort of low times, like, what advice would you give them?
As cheesy and lame as it sounds, please just keep going, because you have no idea who you have yet to meet who's going to love you and support you. You have no idea the opportunities that are going to come your way. And like, I know it all feels so final. You know, when you're depressed, it really, literally feels like that's how it's going to be forever. And it's not. You know, just like joy is temporary, so is the pain. Even if it's lasted that long, like, it can and will get better. And for me, it just took time and meeting the right people and like letting myself be myself and show up 100% as that, you know? Like, I cry when I want to cry. I dance when I want to dance, whether I'm at the gym or in the grocery store. Like, actually letting myself be me and like breathe, you know, was super helpful. But yeah, I think time, movement, running has always helped me, because it's also like something you can do independently, something you do independently. So it's just like, I can put on my pair of shoes, go out and, you know, do my own thing. And like, that's all me. So yeah, just time, little wins, movement, love. Yeah.
And for the friends, because you're always going to have friends that are either, you know, they're going to tell you that they're depressed,
Mm-hmm.
or they're going to go through it and maybe you notice or something. What advice do you give the person that's like, you just told me you're depressed and I get really awkward? What advice, what do you think they should do?
Just sit with them in that sadness. You know, I know we want to always fix things for our loved ones, especially when we see them like depressed. But telling them or like trying to make them happy isn't going to help. You know, like, validate what they're feeling. Yeah, man, this fucking sucks. No wonder you're feeling this way. This and this and this just happened to you. You know, and maybe instead of like asking them like, how can I help you? Because then they're going to be like, I don't even know how to help myself. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Just like, if you go over and see their house is messy, help them clean up. Bring their favorite food over. Like, don't even be like, hey, can I stop in? Stop in. You know, like, check in on them. Because I think when you're going through stuff, you feel like a burden. and you feel like you can only show up for your people when you're at your best. And like, no, let your people show up for your friends even when they're at their lowest, and for the person struggling, like, let people be there for you through the highs and lows, like, because your people want to be there with you no matter what. Yeah.
That's actually because, okay, so I feel like I feel that if I've ever been through a low point or something, you feel like a burden. You're like, I can't ask for help. I don't even want to see my friends because I'm like at such a low point. So yeah, like going over to their house, even when they're like, no, I don't want to hang out or I don't want to do anything, just like drop off a coffee. It's not like you have to stay.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to hang out with them.
Literally.
But just like, hi, here, take this, you
like,
know?
you are
like,
loved. Like, you are literally
yeah.
just telling them you are loved. Even when you're going through this rough place, you are loved, and I am here, you know? And we can go on a walk if you want. I can drop off your favorite coffee. We can sit on the couch and not talk and watch a movie, but like, I am here and I'm not going anywhere, I think is the most important thing you can tell someone that's depressed. And that, like, they're not a waste of a space or of a person for, like, going through what they're going through. Yeah.
I love that. That's like the perfect way to end this.
Yeah,
Victoria,
so.
thanks so much for being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for listening. I will put her social media in the description. And like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.